Well, we decided to have chickens this year for a variety of reasons. We've talked about them for many years, and everything just seemed right this year. So we went to our local farm store and we got these little what's called Easter eggers and olive eggers. And this is what we had. These little bundles of chicks here for a while. We had them in a bucket at this time, and when this picture was taken, this is all we had. This is what we had. We had this little bucket, and that was it. So I needed to get a chicken tractor built ASAP, and this is what I came up with. And the reason I'm even posting this video, I've had a lot of help. Been reviewing other people's projects and their chicken tractors, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to post mine. And that way, it's got some nice features, and if someone else can use it, great, because it's worked really well for us then too. The length of this is 12 foot. These bottom 2x8s are 12 foot. Um, and it's 5 foot wide, and the back coop area that's actually 4 foot by 5 foot, and it's about 5 foot high there, the highest point there too. So, and what it's hard to see here, but there is a aluminum bar coming across your rod that actually holds up the ladder here. That way, when I move it around, it doesn't drag there too. So this is the picture early on. I don't even have my door mounted at this time here too. But and the front here, I extended this out here with the trailer hitch, and I'll talk about how I moved that around here too. But you can see these bolts in the corner here. I even reinforced them. I had some extra short pieces of aluminum angle iron, big stuff. And originally, because I had my wheels mounted way in the back, that was a mistake. It worked really great when it was nice and empty and light. But the minute I got all this extra weight, and then we're probably talking of 2 to 3, maybe more, 100 pounds. And it's nice having a balance like this. In fact, with one hand, I can pick this thing up here too. So that worked really well. The two doors, of course, you have to have one door to get into it and one door to clean it out here too. So, and all my ventilation here, I put screens on. I know that's a problem here too. So there's screens on all my ventilation. It comes out to about, I had 7 chickens, and it comes out about 7 square feet. And this is a summertime coop. I've actually built a wintertime one since this, but we'll talk about that a little bit later here too. So all my doors have at least 2 latches on them, just to thwart some raccoons here too. They're pretty industrious. And too, my roost up here are about 2 3/4 inches rounded over, and they're about 23 inches high. And that may be a little bit high, but they don't seem to be too much of a problem. It's a pretty soft landing in there too. So this is my clean out door, and it's nice to have it the whole width. That way you can really clean it out much easier too. And this board here, this is actually a shower board that was put in the chicken coop after it was all built, so I can get this out and replace it when I need to. But it does a pretty good job of releasing all the crap off of it and all here too. And if you measure the right height of it, then you can get the right height for your cart or wagon or wheelbarrow here too. And that worked really well. I can kind of clean it out pretty good then too. And a couple bungee cords doesn't help, doesn't hurt when keeping things all open here too. So, but yeah, it's worked out really well. The nesting boxes, I just sized them for these plastic bins, cut the fronts off, and they don't have any favorites. They use them all. I made them much lower, of course. They're only about a foot up off the ground here too. So, but yeah, they worked really well. It's easy to clean out, and I can remove the whole thing from the back then too, which is nice. This whole lid lifts up in the back. So, the windows, I just had some leftover scraps aluminum. So I just welded up some squares and bolted them too with some hardware cloth in there. And I did have some aluminum underneath this. You can hardly see it, but I actually welded up some small pieces of aluminum, like 1/8 inch stuff, which I then just pop riveted this aluminum flashing on. And that's actually worked very well. Even this, this whole thing is actually cedar. So it's kind of weather resistant. I mean, the paneling is cedar and things like that. So we've got some water in, but it's going to be this is going to be in service many years, I'm sure, then too. So now this is the door. This thing's all solar powered. It opens and closes on its own. I will address how that works coming up here too. But this is what I had to do with my linear actuator. Originally, I had the attachment to this all the way in the bottom because I needed the extra length. I didn't have enough length for the linear actuator to go all the way up and all the way down in such a small space here too. And so, unfortunately, this little dot here you see, that's actually a cadmium sulfide photoresistor, and there's another LED on this other side you can't see. And so when the door closes, the LED lights up, shines light across, and if the chicken's standing in the way, it'll just stop and wait until the chicken moves, and then it continues all on its way down. Unfortunately, the original holder for this linear actuator would trigger it, and I could not, no matter how small I made it, it wouldn't work. So I had to make this, I weld this up some aluminum pieces, and it's hard to see, but it's wide enough that this whole linear actuator goes between these two pieces here, and that's been working really well since I've got that. It's all open now too, so nothing to trigger the light switch then too. So this is the trailer hitch I already had on my tractor. I put this on there a few years ago just to haul my wood splitter around. Again, some pretty big chunking piece of aluminum here. I just bolted on the back, and I'm not going to haul a trailer with this, but for these lighter weight things, it's not a problem, like the wood splitter or this and too. Unfortunately, the height of this means I had to have my, should have actually made this a little bit different. Should have probably attached a trailer hitch at the top, because my wheels are so small that I don't have a lot of ground clearance in the back, especially when this gets up pretty high. So I raised it up here too, but the problem with that is that this doorway would hit the trailer hitch. Okay, so what I had to do is, just on the last one, I just actually made the door, cut it in half, put it on my table saw and cut it in half, and made a bifold door out of it. And that's worked really well. In fact, it will swing in, but then the whole thing will just swing out here too. I put hinges on the inside. And the latching system here too, that's just a little piece of aluminum that slides between um, the gate, the fence here too, the wires and all that. It really kind of locks it. It's pretty secure. And there's also another lock in the top then too. So these raccoonies got to work pretty hard to get in here too. And this one here is nothing more than an angle iron with the flat stock welded onto it. And I put a double bolt through the hole here, locks it all in place. And the hardest person to get in here is my wife. It's a little bit hard, but it had to be harder for the raccoons, but hopefully easier for her. So this is what I use for my wheels. Now, originally I was going to use larger wheels. I had these parts of a wheelchair and had these nice sized wheels, but of course they're going to take a hub to carry all this weight, and that is the problem, because many times when you have I've seen too many videos of internet chicken tractors. The wheels have just collapsed because there's just so much weight here too. And one of the advantages of these little wheels, they have this a metal cover on both sides, so it really kind of holds the axle in place. And all I really had to do was just weld it to the top here. And even though they're smaller wheels, that works just fine. I don't have a lot of ground clearance, and I will be changing this next year, but for this year it's been working fantastic. And I did put a little curve in it to it, and I probably could have put a bigger curve and made it go down a little bit further. But and really all I did was took my chop saw and cut most of the way through the steel here, bend it around, welded it back in place, and this little attachments here clips on this little clip in the bottom. I have a video coming up here too. So, but yeah, these have worked really good. But the mistake I said, mount these further towards the front than in the back, because yeah, it makes it real simple and it doesn't weigh very much. But boy, when you get it a little bit heavier. So here's my video of yeah, I can get a little foot pad there, lifts up, and I wanted to kind of snap in place, but it was just not going to happen. I could have messed around with a little bit more than too, but it makes it real simple. And it takes a little bit of oomph to push this thing down, but and again, this is just a bolt in the back here. I bolted to it and have a nut on top of it too. I welded it too, I should say. But it does lock in place pretty easily. And of course, there's one on the other side to raise it up. And as long as you take it part of the ground that's pretty flat, and I've been driving around the garden all summer long, so it really hasn't been too much of a problem here too. Um, this is the back side, of course, and what I have, this is my control box back here. And I'll go into detail how this thing works. I'm using a 15-watt solar panel. That's what I had on hand here too. And it's hard. And one thing I did have to add here too, there's a piece of vinyl up here. This vinyl was just put in place because that's the hinge, and I was on a good rainstorm getting some drips down there on the chickens here in this spot. So this vinyl really took care of it here too. This is a motorcycle battery and a cage back here, a pretty good size one. It probably needs to be deep cycle, but it's not. These extra wires here, They go down to a fan I have here, but also inside the cage in the bottom here, because I have an Arduino computer. I have a piezo buzzer that starts telling the chickens when it's time to go to bed, basically. And also there is a passive infrared unit down there too, so it scans the bottom. And if there's a chicken still in the bottom area there, it doesn't shut. It delays shutting the door. And the same thing in the morning. If some perimeter has been breached by a raccoon, and there's something in there and it registers, it will not open the door up if it's actually there's an intruder in the bottom, which has not happened, but I built that anyway here too. So um, yeah, and this is I'm going to talk a little bit about this voltage system I'm using for this breaking the beam system, because it's really an easy thing to do. There's a lot of examples how to use these linear actuators and stuff out there too, but with our Arduino, this is really simple. Now, just hold on a second. This is not that hard, then too. But this is what's called a voltage divider, okay? If I have two resistors, and I use 1K resistors here too, pretty light, small quarter watt type of things here too. But if I have 5 volts coming from the power side, power from the Arduino, okay, and I have a resistor in the top and a resistor in the bottom going right to ground, and if I put a wire right in the middle and taking it to an analog pin, well, that analog pin is going to give me voltage that's actually determine the ratio of these two resistors. And the formula is down here at the bottom, R1, divided by R1 plus R2. That's the resistor sizes, R1 and R2 here. Okay, times the voltage in, that's your voltage out going to your analog pin. For example, if I have all 1,000, 1K or 1,000 ohm resistors here too, well, by the time you crank this through, 1,000 over 2,000 is one half. So 1/2 times 5, well, you get 2.5 volts out of it. So what helps for me though is I replaced this top resistor here with just this CDS, cadmium sulfide photoresistor. And it varies the resistance to how much light you get on it, okay? And then you can just assign a number. You can actually range it, how far and how low it's going to be, assign a number to it and say, okay, if the number's so high going up from night, it means open the door, it's morning. And the other way, if it's actually getting dark and darker and darker, you can assign another number saying, okay, it's time to go to bed, close the door if everything's okay. So that's what I use to monitor the light intensity on the chicken tractor. But the doorway safety thing, all I did on this one here too, is that I had another photo resistor here in the door. Okay, but I also put this LED light. Okay, now this LED light is just powered by a digital pin. I say, power out in the pin, turns the light on, and I got it so it shines right across. In fact, what I did, I put the photoresistor in first, saw where it was shining, and there I drilled my hole for the photoresistor to go in here too. And that has been working just fantastic, very sensitive. In fact, I can even make this less sensitive by the numbers I say how it's going to be here too. So, but that's really kind of simple here too. And again, here's the formula if you need, but these photoresistors are really cheap. I wish I had the brand name, whatever I had here too, but I just actually have I got a bag of these things and I just started playing around with them, and yeah, hey, they work good. So this is it right here. The blue one here is a photoresistor. In fact, I 3D printed the holder for this here too. And one thing I got to say, you've got to move this photoresistor away from all these lights down here. I got warning lights that come on for certain things, and I used a little Arduino Nano here. I made a printed circuit board for. If anybody's curious about the printed circuit board artwork, just contact me. I can post it on GitHub then too, and even the code that drives this thing here too. And I do have a video. If you search my JT and HC, I do have a video how to make printed circuit boards, because that really opens up so many doors when you can. Now, this top yellow arrow, that's the read relay. In fact, what you're looking at here, this whole system is actually under a piece of plexiglass. Okay, I wanted this thing to be a watertight system here too, so certainly I get light through here too, but I wanted to block all the water. And these read relays, all I have is a magnet just attached someplace on here, and I can pull that magnet off here, and when I get it close to this read relay, it makes the switch. And in this case, the yellow one means it will sit there for a second and say, okay, door open. It plays a little tune on the piezo buzzer, and it plays a different tune down here when it comes to the door down here too. So, but these are my override buttons. This is basically running by itself. What the light sensor is too. In fact, what I do, I have different types of light level. There's the morning light level that opens the door, but when it gets dark at night and it goes below that morning light level and it keeps going down, it starts playing a different tune. It starts beeping every now and then. Basically, I'm trying to train the chickens. So if it gets low enough, they will go in there. And sure enough, they've been real fine. I had not had a problem. Once I got the lower light level set originally, so a couple times I locked a couple out and had to go back out. No, this is not low enough yet. So, and what's also nice, because if you're walking by this thing at night and you hear it beeping, you can just put your hand over that area. Makes it much darker, and the door shuts by itself and it's locked up, and it will stay locked up until the morning light gets high enough to raise it back up again. So I like that it just kind of takes care of itself then too. So this is the battery I'm putting on here too. This is the extra wire that's going down here. I probably should put these in the conduit. I've not had a problem. Had a neighbor's dog here once trying to rip the place apart and didn't mess with these things because of course he was more interested in the chickens than this here too. So here's the fan I have in the bottom here too, and I do have a temperature sensor stuck inside of the chicken coop here, and whenever it goes over a certain threshold, actually it turns on this fan. And it's kind of funny in the summertime when gets around 100 degrees here, the chickens will be lined up in front of it. It's just like, wow, I like this. But it also keeps the gnats down. It's got this nice little airflow on it then too. So, and this is why you have to have a chicken tractor that moves. This was less than a week, and man, they just ripped it all up here too. So yeah, we try to move this a little more frequently than we did on this one here too. But yeah, we move it now in the summertime, about every 3 or 4 days, depending on the rain and things like that then too. But yeah, they'll rip it up pretty good then too. So these are olive eggers. We get these are different colors of olive we have here too, and dark brown. But we also have these other blue ones here too. In fact, this was the first egg we ever got. It was kind of surprised. There's an egg in here. We thought, cool. How are we going to divide this egg? Well, we got inside. It was a larger egg than a pullet, I thought. And so we got inside, and it was a double yolker. So the problem was solved. It was fantastic. So anyway, um, so yeah, that's my chicken tractor here too. So if anyone's curious about the code that runs your Arduino, contact me. Like I said, I've not posted this thing to GitHub, but I can. Um, the cadmium sulfide is such an easy way to sense the light using our Arduino here too. So, and I chose the Arduino Nano because, well, it's a low power system here too. There's no display or nothing because that just uses more power here too. Remember, I only got a 15 watt solar panel. However, by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning in the summertime, that thing is fully charged. So it's been working extremely well. So anyway, if any of this helps you, great. Have a good day.